Time now for business. We say hello to a Kate Moody who's not the bearer of the best news when it comes to the airline industry.
There's unfortunately a lot of bad news when it comes to business and the economy these days, Francois. Global air traffic is still about 2/3 lower than it was a year ago, and airlines are burning through cash. The International Air Transport Association said this Tuesday that carriers lost $51 billion in the first half of this year, and they're on course to consume an additional $77 billion in the final 6 months. The industry group is urging governments around the world to renew financial support for airlines to avoid a wave of bankruptcies and layoffs. U.S. airlines have begun cutting some 32,000 jobs in the past week alone. Southwest has asked its employees to accept a pay cut, while American has once again reduced its flight schedule. IATA has also announced it'll be partnering with the UN's World Tourism Organization to try and boost public confidence in flying and establish a global framework to replace the quarantines and travel restrictions that have contributed to this year's collapse. Separately, Boeing has now slashed its expectations for new aircraft demand, saying that airlines will likely want 11% fewer planes over the next decade or so. Well, here in France, the aviation industry has already lost 13,000 jobs since mid-March, wiping out a decade of labor gains. The French government has announced more financial support for companies in the aerospace and automobile sectors to diversify their operations and stay afloat. Claire Rush reports.
Normally, this small business in the Paris region produces parts for the aerospace and auto sectors. But as those sectors have struggled in recent months, the company's output has fallen by 30%.
On voit qu'il y a personne, il est même pas 16 heures.
Its director, however, has a plan to boost operations, switching to focus on this small piece, which can also be used in the pharmaceutical industry. The metal tool transforms powder into a pill. This move to diversify operations makes the company eligible for the new financial aid program. Under the program, whatever money a business invests in modernizing facilities and retraining employees, the government will match, meaning the company's initial €800,000 investment will effectively be doubled, allowing for an investment totaling €1.6 million.
Cette machine que vous pouvez voir est à bout, elle n'en peut plus. Donc la subvention qu'on a obtenue va nous permettre de prendre la dernière génération. On en profite pour prendre avec une capacité un peu plus grande.
Updates welcomed by the 75 employees.
Il faut aller vers les marchés plus porteurs, donc il faut s'adapter de toute façon, quoi.
Ça va nous amener justement à travailler pour des choses peut-être plus spécifiques, des choses peut-être plus compliquées à faire, mais qui rapportent plus d'argent à l'entreprise.
In addition to this small business, 3 dozen other firms are following suit, a move that will keep France's factories afloat while helping them modernize to stay competitive.
Well, the French government has defended its decision to vote against a major deal in the utilities sector. Engie, which is partly owned by the French state, has agreed to sell its 30% stake in the water and waste company Suez to rival Veolia. The €3.4 billion deal was agreed on Monday night, but Suez is worried that the sale could lead to a full takeover, something it's anxious to avoid. The government, which opposed the deal in Monday's board meeting, said it's worried that the merger could affect the workforce.
Troisième intérêt, surtout en période de crise actuelle, c'est qu'il n'y ait pas un emploi supprimé dans cette opération. Voilà ce que j'ai toujours défendu depuis le premier jour. Voilà pourquoi l'État a voté non hier au conseil d'administration d'Engie, parce que la cohérence et la stabilité de l'État, c'est de tenir sa position d'intérêt général.
Bruno Le Maire speaking earlier there. Let's check in on the day's trading action now. The major European indices closed slightly higher. Suez shares were up about 5% here in Paris after that deal was closed. You can see gains of about half a percentage point for the CAC 40 and DAX. The London FTSE 100 closing just above the flat line there. Wall Street's mixed this hour. Investors still hoping for some progress on Capitol Hill towards another stimulus bill. Boeing shares are down about 3% on that rather gloomy forecast. Big tech also weighing on trade as well. The Nasdaq is down about 1/3 of a percentage point this hour. Well, the U.S. trade deficit has soared to its highest level since 2006 as exporters struggle to regain ground lost during the pandemic. While both imports and exports rose in August, American companies bought much more in goods and services than they sold to international clients. The $67 billion gap is the third highest on record for the U.S. The closely watched trade deficit with China, meanwhile, decreased about $2 billion to $26.5 billion in the month of August. Of course, Francois, that was a huge thing that Donald Trump talked about on his first campaign trail. A bit less focus on it this time around, but we can see that the U.S. is certainly buying a little bit less from China.
All right, many thanks for that.